This episode of the Council of the First Ones podcast was recorded on January 17th, 2021.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Council of the First Ones. I'm your host, Kelly. Joining me today is Dave from adultcollected.org. How are you doing today, Dave?
I'm great. Yeah, just loving life in Seattle and buying He-Man toys at the store. And, you know, how often can we say that? So it's a good time.
No, it's such a pleasure being able to walk into any store now and see them right away.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about toys, you brought a very special guest with us to us today, who happened to be one of the child actors that performed in the Masters of the Universe commercials featuring Too Bad. I'd like to introduce everyone to Patrick McDonald. Hi, Patrick, and welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How are you doing? It's nice to be here. Thank you, Kelly. Dave?
It's so great to have you on here. I mean, how often do we get to talk with somebody who is actually in one of the vintage commercials? Has that ever happened? What do you think, Kelly?
No, that has not happened so far.
Wow. So, Patrick, oh my gosh, so many questions. Are you still into He-Man? Did being on the commercial destroy your love for Masters of the Universe? You got to give us the scoop.
All right. Well, let's see. I started acting when I was 8 years old. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, and I did it for about 10 years. This commercial, if I remember correctly, happened I think in 1985.
That's right.
So it was I was probably about 10, maybe 11. Yeah, I was 11 years old. Mm-hmm. So I had been acting for a few years already. My first commercial I did was for a hot cocoa mix. It was called Superman Hot Cocoa, which is pretty cool now in retrospect.
What a big taste, what a lot of fun. Superman Hot Cocoa. What a big taste, it's the one. Superman Hot Cocoa. Super tasty, super fun. Superman Hot Cocoa.
It's the really chocolatey, great tasting hot cocoa. So chocolatey, so delicious. It's Superman Hot Cocoa.
What a big taste, it's the one. Superman Hot Cocoa. Super tasty, super fun. Superman Hot Cocoa.
You know, obviously this was back in the days when they were trying to sell anything movie related, and I got to do a lot of McDonald's commercials.
It's summer, time for fun. It's summer, McDonald's the one. It's a good time, it's summertime, the best time it can be. It's a great time to dance and shout. Isn't that what summer's all about? It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
And I probably, by the time I finished at age of 18, I had done close to 30 commercials. But yeah, it was it was a fun time. You know, you have to understand that back then acting wasn't as cool as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember being teased quite a bit for being in commercials and people seeing me on television.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't a cool thing.
You weren't the coolest kid in class?
No, I wasn't. In fact, you know, they would pull, you know, when you're a child actor, they pull you out of class to go and shoot these commercials and things like that. And it, you know, so I would sometimes be gone for weeks on end.
Oh, wow.
And the teachers would have to give me homework, and I would have to do a certain amount of hours on set every day by law. And the Screen Actors Guild was the teacher was the Screen Actors Guild representative on set. So there was always a Screen Actors Guild representative on set to protect the children, to make sure we were safe and that we didn't get overworked, that we always got fed, and that we always got some school time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it was always exciting to get a role, but then I would leave and, you know, I couldn't play with my friends, which was important to me at the time. You know what I mean? I was 9, you know, 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. You know what I mean? To you know, do adult things as an adult. You know, to actually be working and getting checks in the mail with your name on them. You know, giving money to Social Security at 8, 9 years old. You know, and of course, you know, obviously when you're on you know, it's just like you would imagine when you're on a set and you've got lights and cameras, and I mean, they really do treat you like a star, even when you're doing a small commercial, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was exciting, you know. And my mother was a set mom, so she was always there with me. You have to have your parents, at least one parent with you or a guardian, until you're an adult.
Too bad. We'll be double trouble for He-Man.
He-Man.
I'll get him. No, he's mine.
Too bad Skeletor and He-Man figures each sold separately.
Well, well, an evil warrior. 2 warriors.
Name's Too Bad.
Too bad for you. Oh, yeah? Who wants me first? You get him. No, I'm getting out of here.
Too bad. New from the Masters of the Universe collection. Other action figures each sold separately from Mattel.
So, you know, this was definitely one of the commercials that I was, you know, most excited about getting, because I was already a Masters of the Universe fan. You know what I mean? I'd already had a He-Man, you know, and you know, to get this role was kind of like, it was just like, you know, it would be, I think anybody that's a fan of those toys, especially, you know, as a child, you know, would be as excited as I was. I mean, I remember, you know, getting that phone call and jumping up and down, and my mom not even really understanding how big of a deal it was to me. You know, she knew that He-Man was a toy, and to me, you know, my He-Man figures were some of my best friends because I was an only child, and I played with, you know, a lot of action figures when I was a kid. You know, to keep myself busy.
Right.
So, you know, finding out I got this role was, you know, I remember being, you know, absolutely ecstatic about it.
Wonderful. Do you remember watching the cartoon when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's what started it all for me, was the cartoon. You know, that's what really got me so excited.
So do you happen to have like photos of you as a kid with your He-Man toys, or even on the set of that commercial, or just a different commercial?
Well, they wouldn't allow us to take photographs on set.
Oh,
I will tell you some interesting facts about the commercial, though, itself.
Sure.
I remember, you know, one of the questions that's been brought up a lot. First of all, I just want to express how grateful and flattered I am that people, you know, care about this stuff. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You know, to get as many questions and likes and things like that from the post that I put on the Facebook page was very humbling. I'm eternally grateful to all of the Masters of the Universe fans. It was really very flattering to have that many people really even care, because frankly, most of my friends don't, and they never really did. So to bring it up, you know, in a real small way, and then to have that many people appreciate it, really made me feel well. It really made me feel good, and I just want to thank those people personally. First of all, it meant a lot to me for people to care about something that I think a lot of people wouldn't, you know. So it meant a great deal to me. But I will tell you that, you know, some of the interesting facts about that particular commercial was, you know, a lot of questions were brought up is, you know, did I get to keep any of the figures? And the answer is no. They did not allow us to keep any figures. They didn't allow us to play with any of the figures. I remember.
Really?
Yeah, they had, I believe it was 4 of each. They had 4 He-Mans, 4 Skeletors, and 4 Too Bad figures. And they were all not behind lock and key, but like all commercials, any product that was going to be shown had to be absolutely perfect. I remember them switching out the He-Man in between a couple of the takes, but they did not switch out the other two characters in there.
Did they check your pockets on your way out?
No, those prop guys were very good at their job. They knew exactly who had what at all times. I mean, their jobs were on the line. You know what I mean? But
Right.
you know, I certainly would have loved to have been able to keep the actual figure from the commercial. It would have been nice. You know, typically when I did commercials, I didn't get free products. I did one commercial for Toys R Us.
Oh wow!
And it was a Toys R Us post-cereal shopping spree commercial where one lucky kid was gonna open a cereal box and they were gonna pull a ticket and it was gonna allow them to go on a Toys R Us shopping spree where they could go down the aisles for, I think it was like a couple minutes, and grab as many toys as they wanted to. And when we shot that commercial,
the 3-minute shopping spree that they always did.
Yeah. Oh, right. And so when we shot that commercial, it was in a sound stage where they had fake aisles filled with toys.
Wow.
And at the end of that shoot, the director said, "Okay, you guys did such a great job." He said, "Go ahead and pick one toy, whatever you want." I picked the boogie board because it was big and it was cool and I wanted one, you know what I mean? But I just thought it was fascinating that they had like 4 of each figure to begin with, you know what I mean? Because, you know, and I always wish I knew what happened to those. I mean, obviously, once I finally saw Too Bad in the store, it was the first, you know, I couldn't wait to get it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't remember what wave it was. I think it was probably the 4th wave maybe or something. But it was still, you know, it was that personal connection, right? You know, it was like anytime I saw Too Bad, I always was like, that's my boy, that's my guy, you know what I mean?
That's right. That's cool. So in the commercial, you're the kid holding He-Man, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
it was. I remember it was shot at somebody's house.
Oh, really?
I think we shot it in one day, if I remember correctly. I think we got there early in the morning and it was done. I think by the time we were at lunch. I mean, they had been there a day before and had the whole backyard of this house already set up. You know, I remember showing up and, you know, they already had the lights, the cameras, everything was already ready by the time I was on the set. And, you know, they went over the lines with us a few times and I don't know why I was the lucky kid that, you know, got to have that kind of like full face, you know, at least you can see my face in the commercial, you know?
Right. I'm watching it right now. Yeah.
I mean, it goes by so quickly, you know, I didn't know until I got older, you know, how cool it was that, you know, that was Optimus Prime's voice, you know, you know, doing the commercial, you know, I think he did quite a bit of those He-Man commercials back in the day.
Yeah.
And it shows you, you know, you've got He-Man facing off against Too Bad, and Too Bad's hiding behind something, and you actually have He-Man twist his waist and come back with
knock down it looks like a wooden raft.
Yeah, it was actually a piece of card. I think it was a piece of cardboard, if I remember correctly. And I remember I also remember when they told me to hit that cardboard, they didn't want me to just swing his legs. They wanted me to use that spring action in his hips. You know, they were like, keep the feet planted, and you pull the arm to the right and let go. You know what I mean? Because obviously that was a selling feature at the time, I guess. You know?
Yes,
Which,
it was.
I'm surprised we don't see them now in modern action figures. Maybe just because of safety.
Well, if we're breaking them apart at the waist to mix and match, it's actually a useless feature.
Sure. Well,
back then, I remember that was one of the big selling things.
Oh yeah. There must be a safety concern.
I mean, it's like the Kung Fu grip, right? You know, from you know, the GI Joes, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Everybody had their thing.
Fisto or Jitsu He-Man figures. Yeah, we didn't see them in the classics line. I'm very curious. Since you've done that commercial, I assume at some point maybe you moved on to other toys like Ninja Turtles or GI Joes. What do you remember enjoying aside from He-Man as a kid?
The thing that caught my eye, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think every kid finds something. You know what I mean? And now we're talking early mid '80s here. So for me, I was never a big baseball card kid. I didn't really start getting into comic books until actually I was in high school. But I really was drawn to things like the Garbage Pail Kid stickers, and I remember, mowing lawns and doing chores and whatever I could do to get money to get Garbage Pail Kids. And then for me personally, when Back to the Future came out, when the Back to the Future movie came out,
right,
I became a huge Back to the Future fan.
Nice.
And I still am a gigantic Back to the Future guy to this day. So
very cool.
That's become like my magnificent obsession as far as collecting. Now, obviously, this new era of He-Man stuff coming out is just like, it's so cool, right? I mean, this is like any fan's dream is to be able to see these amazing figures and storylines and things that we enjoyed so much as children coming back, not only so that our children can enjoy them, but because personally we were so connected with them when we were children. You know what I mean? And to see them be taken so seriously, I love that. This is no joke to me. You know what I mean? The Masters of the Universe is a very serious thing, and it's not, for a bunch of dorks. It's for real people that you know what I mean? I genuinely, I feel this way. You know what I mean? I feel that, I feel so lucky that we're around to have this new wave of figures coming out. And I think it's fantastic. And I'm so grateful that they've done this. You know what I mean? I don't know. Do you guys know how this all started again?
Oh my gosh. Good question. I mean, how many hours do we have?
I don't think they ever did state. I know they've said that the Horsemen led the classics, getting that started, but the Origins, I have a feeling it was that Mattel was looking for a way to boost revenue sales since Barbie and Hot Wheels were on the decline. And they wanted to see what properties they still had. And they knew they had Masters of the Universe. They knew that they had a big fan base. And they made the announcement about Origins, what was it, 2018 at San Diego. And people just went crazy for them.
Well, I feel like it's this overarching strategy, this kind of a broader strategy in response to the pending release of the live action Masters of the Universe film. And we've got the live action film that's going to be produced hopefully this year, but we'll see. And we
have two cartoons coming out, and we did have a She-Ra reboot. Plus all the comics that have been coming out featuring Masters of the Universe by DC.
And so, I think it's definitely, and of course there's the Masterverse figures, the deluxe classics-esque toy line that they're coming out with. I really feel like this is all accumulating as one grand strategy to capitalize on the live action film. And
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't try and plan this live action film closer to the 40th. I mean, it's definitely not coming out this year like they had originally planned.
Right, and that, I really feel like they were hoping to have Origins out either right at the time that the movie was released or very shortly beforehand,
Well, the movie was supposed to be released March of 2021.
Yeah.
which we know is not happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and so we'll see, it's kind of like, the pandemic has really thrown everything for a loop. And not to excuse the, what do you call it, the curse of the MOTU movie that, has been discussed quite a bit, and the failed attempts to try to get a new movie out. But yeah, from the people I've spoken with and, the information I've gathered, I feel it really is just this this total package that they've tried to come up with. And yeah, it's like you said, it's so lucky that we're here to, we're living in a time when they're bringing back all of these wonderful toys, and you'll get your new Too Bad soon enough, I'm sure.
I certainly hope so. I picture them sitting around these big tables, right, on the top floor in Mattel, right?
Sure.
And they're discussing, what do we do next, guys? What are we going to do next? And some guy in the back of the room raising his hand and, saying, why do we have to keep trying to invent the wheel? We've created all these wonderful characters with their own storylines, with their own history. It's been 30 plus years. It worked the first time.
Yeah.
Why not do it again? It's
Right.
like with Disney, remember when Disney had the VHS movies and they would only come out like once every 7 years?
And they would be sealed away in the vault.
Right.
For
And they wouldn't come out
how many
again.
years.
And look what's happened with Transformers. You know what I mean? I just think when you've got something as good a quality like this, it's really hard to ignore it in the room, the elephant in the room, and go, well, let's try this or let's try that. It's like, stop. Let's just concentrate on what worked and expose a whole new generation to the same things that you and I loved when we were children. That's what I think happens in these rooms. I think they say, look, this worked. Let's do it again. There's no reason we can't make it work again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, the CEO somewhat recently said that, Masters of the Universe is selling very, very well, the new Origins toys, and that he thinks that, he feels that Masters of the Universe, this brand, can be as big as the Marvel Universe. And I'd love to see that. Yeah. And we're finally kind of on that path. Like I said, with the cartoons, the live action movie, we've got so many toy lines with the Mega Constructs, builder sets, and the Funko toys, the Eternia mini figures.
You name the form factor, we're getting it finally.
Right. We're getting. And it, some people are saying that the Origins aren't doing as well as they could, and that we need to buy extra figures to give away or to give to at kids' birthday parties or whatever. But at the same time, we're really seeing these fly off the shelf, and we're as quickly as they arrive, they disappear. And aside from distribution issues and what have you, I feel that really there is just a genuine interest out in the world for this product. And
you've got.
And it is something different because we're not dealing with robots. Well, there is a robot in our universe.
There's everything in the universe. That's what's wonderful about Masters of the Universe.
When you look at even what we have out there, you have your fashion icons. And yes, there are, I know, some fashion in the boys' aisle too. But you have either Space Rangers, Army Men, Transformers, transforming toys, or movie product.
Mm-hmm.
Where this is a mix and match of everything, and it works. And it stands out because it's so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing that we're really lucky about is that my father didn't care about these toys when I was a kid. But now we've got not only one generation that is in their 30s, 40s, 50s that enjoy this universe. Their children do too. So we're targeting a much wider range of clientele here because I'm seeing just as many. I'm seeing more adults rushing down to these stores looking for these new waves of figures than I am even children, right? Yeah. And rightfully so, right? They're our universe. That we're the ones that dived into this universe first, and why wouldn't we want to expose our own children to it? I mean, the whole storyline, there's just not something there for someone. It doesn't matter how unique your personality is. There's a character that can remind you of yourself or somebody that whether it's a family member, a father figure, your sister, your pet, whatever it is, you know what I mean? It's all there, you know what I mean? So you're bound to find that one character that relates to you and has that special thing about it, and when I was a kid, for me, I wasn't a big He-Man guy. I was a Skeletor guy. I loved Skeletor. I just thought he was funny and yet the bad guy, and he just looked like such a tough guy, and he reminded me of my father, and I just loved Skeletor. I just did, and he was always my favorite, and he still is my favorite, and he's the one that when I go down to the store right now, he's the one the only one I see on the shelf, at least in my area. Everybody else, all the other figures are all sold out, but poor Skeletor's there, and like 6 or 8 of them stacked up. And
they went a little crazy on the Skeletors.
Well,
that's okay though.
I did say that both He-Man and Skeletor would be evergreen and always available, the originals, that they learned their lessons from the 2000 X series.
True.
Don't mess with the OG. Everyone wants an OG to start their collections.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I also think that this time period that we're in right now with COVID, I think that a lot of this that is teaching our parents it's forcing us to send our children outside to play again, and there's this new era of, even the kids that love playing video games all day long are there's that special golden era of growing up when you like to go out and play in the mud, and you want to play in the trees, and you want to play in the grass, and you want to play with figures, you know what I mean? And the timing is perfect for this because there's just not much that kids can do right now, and they're being told by their parents, go outside, and to give them, if you give your kid a He-Man and a Skeletor, it is an endless possibility of stories for a child going outside with these things, in my opinion, even as an adult. So I think the timing is really good on these too, man, because I think it's going to give kids something that they've been holding, controllers for so long that you put in their hands something like this, and they don't even know what to do with it at first, you know what I mean? And then they realize the possibilities of what they can do, and it just opens their minds, and it's gonna benefit Mattel and all of the fans, I think, in the long run, that this is happening right now.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's interesting. You bring up the fact that your father didn't really, didn't care for the toys himself, and which is, I'm sure, very, very common back in the day. But now, today's generation of children is growing up, and suddenly they're able to play with these toys and enjoy them with their parents who are interested in them.
Their parents let them touch the good toys.
That's right. That's right.
And
I mean, come on. We look at it and think, not that one. You don't know how much it's worth right now.
Right. No, I it's funny. My wife would tease me, just for fun about, my toys, and she would knock one of them over, and I would say, "Yeah, that one's $300." But
Yeah,
So-
that'll be 300.
no, I have some custom figures, and some of them are pretty expensive. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say that it's interesting that it's a little different this time around for many reasons. But what I wanted to say is the parents are really passionate about these toys that they're giving to their children, and so they're sharing in that passion, that love for these toys, and I think that's very,
Mhm.
very special. And you see so much of that on the Origins fans group on Facebook. You see all these pictures of the kids, super happy children playing with these toys, the parents and kids together. It's just a wonderful experience.
It is.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
I
when
agree.
are we gonna see that again? When this is a very unique and special time. Absolutely.
In 30 years. In another
In
30
30
years.
Right, right.
We'll just keep rinsing and repeating over and over if we have to.
Right, exactly. Kelly, I would love to see Patrick. I should get Patrick in touch with Daniel Benedict, who made those amazing Origins commercials, their fan
Oh, the
commercials
retro
that were made.
origin commercial.
Yeah, he's so good at what he does, and they should make a new commercial. I feel like with the toys, but it's like him as an adult playing with the toys. Maybe when Too Bad comes out.
Oh, yes.
I'd love that. I'd love that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened to those other 3 kids in that commercial.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was a different time back then. There weren't nearly as many kids auditioning for things either. I would go to auditions for commercials and see the same 20 kids at every commercial. Nowadays, you go to a commercial auditions, there's thousands of kids competing for this stuff.
I bet.
But it would be great because, I remember seeing my own commercial after school. Coming home from school and turning on the TV and seeing my own commercial on the screen, you know what I mean? And thinking, thinking, wow, that's me. It wasn't, and like I said, it wasn't a cool thing back then until I got into high school. When I was a freshman in high school, this was a turning point for me. I was in a commercial, and it was for this product called Correctol. Correctol was a women's laxative. Okay. And I was in this commercial. Yeah. I was the mother's son in this commercial, asking mom, hey, are you okay? Are you feeling all right? She's like, no, I'm not feeling too good today. And then she takes the Correctol, and it kind of sweeps forward to the next day, and she's feeling fine and everything's great. Right. And I thought nobody would see this commercial. And I was a freshman in high school. I just moved to this new school, didn't know a soul. And everybody started seeing me in this Correctol, this women's laxative commercial of all things, right? Okay. I mean, it was the most humiliating thing that had ever happened to me at the time. Okay. I mean, I'm what, 12, 13 years old, and everybody is calling me the Correctol kid. You know what I mean? It was, and then something happened, and it changed my life forever. And what happened was this girl came up to me, and she was a junior. And she was very pretty. She was very pretty. And she came up to me and she said, hey, are you that kid in the commercial? And I remember I had been berated up and down the halls up until that point where I just literally, I remember her asking me, are you that kid from the Correctol commercial? And I remember going, yeah, that's me, like waiting for the insult to come. And she said to me, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Nice.
And I remember looking up at her like my eyes bugged out of my skull. And I said, really? And she said, yeah, I think that's the coolest thing ever. And here's the kicker. I ended up dating this girl. Okay. She became my girlfriend. And so here I am, a freshman, dating a junior who was gorgeous, right? And I mean, it changed my whole outlook on the acting thing. And it made me realize, wait a minute, this isn't so bad. This is actually a pretty cool thing, you know? And there's always going to be haters in life, man. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you know? And you've just got to refocus to the positive, you know what I mean? And it changed my life when somebody appreciated what I was doing, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it was just fantastic. And so you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic to be able to do these types of commercials again. I think it would be hilarious to do one with somebody who was an adult, who was one of the kids. Yeah, I mean, especially if you had like a cut scene or something where it was like me on the left is, you know, a 10-year-old and me on the right now is, you know, at 48 years old. You know what I mean? So,
or like maybe you're the father in the commercial.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And your son is the one playing Too Bad.
Yeah, and then I go and I look, and there's my old Too Bad in a box. You know, there it is, the original, the OG
childhood toy.
The one in the picture is the one that the first one I purchased when I was a kid.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That is my OG Too Bad. You know, it was like, oh man, I'm the Too Bad kid. I'm gonna keep this. You know.
That is so great. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Well, you're certainly, I would say, a fan celebrity in this community for sure.
Oh, well,
easily.
So awesome.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm just another average individual, you know, just another average guy. But it certainly is flattering to know that people care about this stuff. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It really means a lot to me.
So when did you hear about the new toys? Because I assume that you haven't been a diehard like He-Man fan all these years and just never bothered to tell anybody.
No, it was actually I actually saw them in the store, and I couldn't believe I was like, I can't believe this. I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
You know, they were just up there. You know, and you know, it's funny because they keep a lot of the like NECA or NECA toys, you know, in the electronics department in these stores, whether it's Target or Walmart or wherever, you know what I mean? And they keep a lot of their pop figures and stuff back in the electronics department. So, you know, I don't really go into down the toy aisles as often because I'm still looking for those more, I guess you'd say, like adult targeted figures that I would see in like the electronics department. But I started going down, kind of looking at the Hot Wheels again, you know, and the next thing you know, I look up and I'm like, what is this? You know, I couldn't even believe I saw it, you know, and then I realized, you know, like I didn't understand why these figures weren't in the electronics department, you know.
Right.
These things should be behind lock and key, in my opinion. You know. Because last thing I want is for a kid to take one down and open it up and start, you know, playing with it in the aisle. But again, it goes back to what I was saying before. I mean, this target that I think they're trying to reach is 2 generations full, maybe even 3, you know. And you know, this is a whole new, I think, wave of targeting that they're doing, and I expect much more from them. I really do. I really expect much more from them. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing, you know, a lot of things coming out of this, whether it's, you know, Playmobil coming out with this stuff or more Legos. You know, it really is limitless once you have a core product that is like this. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, yeah.
There's so many things that they can do.
I don't know if you've heard of the Masters of the WWE Universe figures.
I love this. I love this concept. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I really do. Because now you're putting 2 of my favorite things together. You know, I mean, they did this with the Back to the Future DeLorean Transformers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, and not only that, but they just released the comic books. So I'm back in the comic book store now, buying Transformer Back to the Future comic books. you know, and I just bought the gigawatt transformer, you know, because, you know, how could I say no to that? So, I mean, yeah, I love that they're bringing in, you know, these things. I mean, who doesn't love Mr. T? You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
And it's
he's
cool
just
that you can take
cool.
them apart and swap the parts between the two toy lines. I mean, how often can you do that?
That's awesome. I think that's great. And then what were those mini ones I saw too?
Yeah, the Eternia minifigures, little small ones.
Yes.
I'm all over that stuff, man. There's, you know, that is, they're targeting us, you know, and we are going to take this and through us pass it on to the younger generation. I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant the way they do it. So it's an exciting time for people like us. You know, I don't really like to call them toys anymore. You know, they really are. You know, it's a really exciting time to be a part of this universe and to be part of all this. There's so much more to go, as far as I remember. You know, I mean, we've got. I mean, even if they brought back the ooze and the, you know, I mean, look at what's happening with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too. Those are making a huge comeback too.
Definitely. Oh yeah.
You know, and you know, with the whole Marvel universe, I mean, there's so much out there right now, and and I'm so flattered and grateful to see them bringing out such a classic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, there's so much power. There's so much power in nostalgia, you know, and the more they can capitalize on that, the better.
I mean, when it comes to figures, to action figures, because I mean, these are defined as action figures, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well then, when these were first created, these had to be right up there, you know, right after, you know, post G.I. Joe. These were probably one of the first ones that were of this size, right?
Yes, it was. Because G.I. Joe was in the 3 3/4 after, and
smaller.
before Masters, it was 12-inch.
Yeah, these were the perfect size.
Yeah.
And they really were, because they were small enough to put in your pocket. You know, and what's next? Like after they do this thing with the WWE, what, like, I mean, it's really, I mean, there's just endless possibilities if they're open-minded and if they're willing to work together with other, you know, conglomerates of you know, different types of companies and stuff like that. I mean, really, I mean, the list goes on and on. I just don't know how we're all going to find room for this stuff as collectors.
Yeah, we'll see where they take this. I hope that I'm very hopeful that you will get the whole vintage line in Origins form. You know, all the vehicles, the play sets, maybe not the Eternia play set, but, you know, all of the core figures.
They could do the Eternia set in 3 different boxes. You buy each of the towers separately, and then they come together as one.
I could see that. I mean, I'd love it. I mean, you know, if we can get that far, yeah, perfect. Take my money. But
yeah, take it now.
Yeah. Well, and you know, they're coming out with the Masterverse figures, which are 7-inch scale instead of 5.5. And I don't know how much you know about the Classics toy line, which were these beautiful deluxe figures designed and sculpted by Four Horsemen Studios, and those ran from like 2008 to, well, they basically just wrapped it up with the release of the Snake Mountain playset. That was the last toy to come out of the line, I think. Yeah.
The last official one, yeah.
Yeah, that and the Slime Pit He-Man was among the last ones. Yeah. So the question I have is, when they release Masters, how much will they continue to push the Origins figures? You know, at PowerCon, one of the questions that was asked was, why was Classics put on hiatus? You know, why did they stop producing Classics figures? And the response from Mattel was, well, it's because it would be hard for both lines to live on the shelf, to survive on the shelf, which, you know, is very true. To try to do too much at once. It's very risky. But now that we have this level of popularity with Origins without big media support at the moment, without a cartoon or movie behind it, I really hope that they will keep it going once we get into the Masterverse territory.
Yeah, my hope too is that this type of thing leads to the reopening of the toy store as well.
Oh, sure.
To lose places like KB Toys and Toys R Us over the last couple of years it's been absolutely heartbreaking. For the younger generation and even for myself. I miss that time period, and I think a lot of us, of our generation, miss going down and seeing an entire aisle dedicated to one particular type of toy,
Mm-hmm.
and my hopes is that places like the big box centers and things like that, that Target and Walmarts and places like that, when they're sitting there counting their receipts on what's sold, they're gonna look and they're gonna say, well, we sold this many TVs, and then we sold, this many bottles of shampoo, and then they're gonna go, what is this? We sold, $10,000 worth of these He-Man figures. Right. What is this? We need to box off a whole section for these if we're making this kind of money. I mean, you can't deny it. You can't deny the revenue that's going to come in from this stuff.
I really hope that's the case. There have been some really bad distribution problems with the line, unfortunately. And so, I feel like the big numbers, will they come in? Will the company see it? I don't know.
We only have to hope.
Yeah. And
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that these distribution problems that they're having, do you think they're done on purpose or not?
No. Nope.
No.
Okay.
No.
I'd say part of it was with the COVID, and part of it was with the exclusive to Walmart for the first year.
Yes.
Okay.
So
all right.
Not intentionally to make the distribution problem, but intentional in that there was a strategy, and that strategy plus the COVID pandemic equals lots of problems for toy collectors. Yeah.
The only reason I say that, and I know this is far-fetched, is that when I'm determined to get one of these figures, I don't know about you, but I go to sometimes 4, 5, 6 different locations.
Right.
And I'm not talking in one weekend. I'm talking weekend after weekend after weekend until I find it, right?
Yeah,
and so here I am driving all around town, going from location to location, looking for this particular figure, and I can't find it. 2 things. First of all, the treasure hunter in me loves it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this like little tingling sensation that makes me feel like, man, when I finally find it, this satisfaction that I get of finally finding it. I mean, sure, I could buy it on the internet, but what's fun in that? I like going down there, and back to what I was saying before. While I'm in there, if I don't see what I want, well, I might as well get some shampoo while I'm here. I might as well, wow, that TV looks pretty good. Maybe I'll pick up one of those too. I mean, the rarity of having what you're looking for out there creates more of a want for it, right? Supply and demand, right?
Yeah. Well, and that would be a good thing unless we're in a pandemic and it's dangerous to go to the store. But, now what I'm finding this time around, and absolutely the thrill of the hunt is alive and well. What I find to be very, successful, a successful strategy is to just call up my local Target and give them the codes for the toys and have them look it up in their system and check for it on the shelf, and if necessary, check in the back. And then if they don't have it, to ask them, okay, which other store in your area has it? And they have a 30-mile radius. and they'll say, okay, this is the store that has it, so I can call them up, have them check, and all of the toys. I was able to buy 2 full sets of all the new toys for the Origins line, just by picking them up at the customer service desk at Target.
Yeah. Well, I love it when I see people posting photographs on Facebook and they're like,
Yeah.
you know, in front of a whole bunch of them, you know, and they feel like they've hit the mecca, right? They've hit the jackpot, right? You know, and everybody else is drooling at these photographs, hitting like, and then going, where is this? Where is, you know, you're so lucky. My location doesn't have any of these, you know what I mean? And
well, I feel like it's a win for the whole community when that happens. You know, it's like, yes, one of our guys.
Yes,
you know,
I agree.
was able to
I
find
agree.
them.
Yeah, we're living through them vicariously, right?
Yeah. And they
how
got
many times did I just come on and start crying, saying they're still not here on the East Coast?
Right.
Well, see, I used to see a lot more of that, honestly, on the Origins fans group. Is somebody would say, "Okay, I found one," and then all the comments would be, "I don't have one, and I still don't have this, and I'm still looking for this." And that's, you still see that, but I'm seeing less of that. I'm seeing more of the, hey, good for you, you know, congrats, and you know, sharing, a lot of sharing information, and I feel like it's more of a team. You know, it's like it's a community coming together and saying, you know, let's get them before the scalpers do. That's a win. That's, you know,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a really great feeling. Yeah,
you certainly have an excellent community there, Dave.
Oh, thank you. I mean,
yeah, congratulations on creating something like that, you know.
Thank you. Well, I mean, and you know, I like to think it's a great community to begin with, because the people in it are, you know, the MOTU community, and we're a great, fantastic community. You know, not to, you know, downplay any other hobby like you know, or community like the Ninja Turtle fans or the Transformer fans or what have you, but yeah, we're pretty awesome, I think, because we have so many diehard collectors who have been in it for years and years, or we also have so many people in our community who are, you know, finding Masters of the Universe again, where they're rediscovering it after all these years. They used to play with the toys as a kid, they watched the cartoon, and then they weren't fans, or not that they weren't fans, but they just, you know, weren't into it for years and years, and now they've got kids, and suddenly they're back at it. They've rediscovered their love for it, and they're part of the community again and sharing their stories, just like you. I mean, you know, you rejoined the He-Man community, and hey guys, you know, you said, hey, I was one of the kids in this commercial, and you saw the response. You know, you're in really good company here.
Yeah, I want to thank you for that too, and I've got to give you some credit for it as well, because you know, frankly, it wasn't until I did join that I thought to myself, gee, I almost forgot I was in one of these commercials, you know, and it took me some time to find it, but when I did, you know, I had to share with you guys that you know, it was because of your community that I was able to have this memory that happened, you know, almost 40 years ago, you know, and so I want to thank you and your community for being there to remind me, because it was a good time in my childhood, you know what I mean? Yeah. And even though it was work and it was a job for an 8-10-year-old, I enjoyed it, and to be a part of it was something I'll always cherish, you know, and always be able to carry with me, and it was because of your community that I was able to reflect on it and bring it back up. And then to be able to share it with people, and the reaction I got, it was just, again, made me feel great, and I'm just super grateful.
Well, thank you and welcome. And you know, when the Too Bad figure comes out, I'm sure we'll all be thinking about you. Yeah.
I certainly hope so. You know, and if there's ever anything you guys you know, would like from me, or if you ever want to talk again or whatever, I'll always be here for you. You know,
of
for
course.
you and the whole Masters of the Universe.
Yeah,
you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Well, I'd like to thank our special guest, Patrick McDonald, for joining us tonight. It was such a pleasure to have a behind-the-scenes look at what it was like to film a Masters of the Universe commercial back in the 80s. And as always, you can go to your local Walmart, Target, Big Bad Toy Store, or any place else to get your origin figures. And for up-to-the-minute news on PowerCon and all He-Man related news, please check out he-man.org. Till next time, good journey.
And this is David Clark, owner of AdultCollector.org, a network of pages and groups on Facebook celebrating everything we love about He-Man and She-Ra. I want to encourage everybody to check out the 19,000 member Origins fans group on Facebook. And so thank you so much, Patrick, again. And for everybody, good journey. Stay safe.